Well, I am absolutely delighted to be here with all of you on my first trip to Georgia, and I could think of no better way to begin it than meeting with some of the outstanding women leaders who are representing the future of Georgia, both inside and outside of the government service, in the private sector, in academia, in the non-governmental organizations. And I thank all of you for making time to join me today. And I particularly want to recognize Georgia's First Lady, Sandra Roloffs. I am delighted to have this opportunity to acknowledge the work that you've been doing. I have been a First Lady, and I know that there are many opportunities to work on a whole range of issues, and I thank you especially for your work improving health care, which is an issue very near and dear to my heart. I also wanted to acknowledge the President's mother. I didn't meet her on the way in, but it's so good to see you, Professor. Thank you so much for being here as well. And I wanted to introduce you to someone who has worked with me for many years on behalf of issues around the world affecting women and girls, and that's United States Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues, Melanne Verveer, who many of you know. She's been a vital voice on behalf of women's issues inside and outside of our government. This weekend, as I'm sure many of you know, is the time when Americans celebrate our independence. And I'm so pleased that I could end my trip here in Georgia, a country that has had an extraordinary history going back hundreds of years, and more particularly during the last 20 years. I believe that the potential of this country to serve as a beacon and model for democracy and progress is extraordinary. And for me, it is in large measure rooted in the day-to-day changes that have occurred here in Georgia. Before the Rose Revolution, Georgia was on the brink of being a failed state. Since then, Georgians, and particularly Georgian women, answered the call of history. You seized your moment. You worked to strengthen democratic institutions and civil society, to combat corruption and reestablish the rule of law, and to lay the foundation for a better future. But we both know that Georgia faces some dramatic challenges. You live with the realities of an invasion and an ongoing occupation. You are trying to promote a recovery in Georgia's economy, working to improve vital services like health care and education, working to raise your families and look after your relatives. In the millions of decisions that are made every day, the future of your country is being determined. And I have seen over the course of more than 2 decades now how countries wrestle with similar difficulties, from war and displacement in the Balkans to conflict and reconciliation in Northern Ireland to health care and housing in Africa and across the world. And what I see here in Georgia is very heartening, and the prospects for change very real. Now, I know that it happens with the concerted effort of those who are citizens and those who are leaders, men and women. And I know, too, that Georgia's talent, creativity, and energy bodes well if the course that you're on can be persisted on until your destination is arrived at. Ambassador Bass wrote me before I arrived and said that women are the engines of change in Georgia. Now, that is not a new development in your history. I have long been fascinated by King Tamar, and some of my press from America may not know that King Tamar was a woman who led what is referred to as the Golden Age in Georgia. Well, there's no reason why the 21st century cannot be another golden age for Georgia. And as we push for positive change, for a closer relationship with Europe, membership in NATO, a new landmark criminal procedure code, transforming Georgia's police force, leading organizations like Georgia's Young Lawyers, International Society for Fair Elections and Democracy, improving the rule of law and responsiveness in governance. I see women mentioned and taking leading roles time and time again. Civil society is the glue that holds a country together. I gave a speech in Krakow a few days ago at the Community of Democracies, where Georgia was well represented, about the critical role of civil society. And it is a tried and true experience that you have to have accountable, responsible government. You have to have free, well-functioning markets. But where life is worth living, that space between government and the economy is called civil society. That is where we raise our families. That is where we pay homage to our faith. That is where we work in private associations. And it is where the habits of the heart to sustain democracy are created. I know many of you are particularly concerned about your own family, because when people are uprooted from their communities and displaced by war, families face severe hardships. Holding families together amid adversity is as important to Georgia's future as any foreign policy issue. And rebuilding what was lost in Georgia is the product of a lifetime. It will not be easy. It will take everyone from your president to the children in the classroom to set a new standard of rising to the occasion here in Georgia. I think often about new democracies because we celebrated our 234th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence yesterday. In democracies, we live by the rules in our constitutions and we take turns running for office. Once the voting is over, whoever is elected must work to unify the country and overcome political divisions. I saw two women wearing T-shirts from my presidential campaign, which reminded me, if I needed reminding, that I ran a very hard race against President Obama. I tried with everything I had to beat him, but I was not successful. And when I went from running against him to supporting him in the election, that was part of what I thought was best for my country. But when he won, much to my surprise, he asked me to serve as his Secretary of State. And many people around the world have said, well, how could you be a political opponent and now be working with your former adversary? But there's a very simple answer. We both love our country. And in a democracy, there comes a time when politics stops and governance must start. And I believe that in Georgia, as you inculcate these habits, these changes, I've seen it across the world, where it is love of country and faith in the future that provides the motivation. So, women of Georgia, it is an honor to be here, to recognize your many contributions, to challenge you to be part of building a second golden age for this country. And it now is a golden age not of monarchy, not of the Middle Ages, but of the 21st century, a time of democracy and prosperity and progress. I have great faith in what Georgia has already accomplished. Sometimes when you're in the midst of it, when you are running the race, it is hard not to be frustrated and hard not to see all that has not been accomplished. But when you look at Georgia's economy, when you look at the consolidation of democracy, it is very impressive. And I am here as the Secretary of State of a country that admires you, of a people that identifies with your struggles, and to tell you that both our government and our people will stand with Georgia as partners and friends to help you finish the race. Thank you very much. Thank you.